take this tool out of your trunk where the tire tools are, where the jack is. Just grab these caps, slide them off if you have them. And then if you have a wheel lock, use the wheel lock key that's also in the trunk. Take a 17mm socket, take these lug bolts out. When you get to the last one, hold the tire on so it doesn't fall. Take the bolt out, and then grab the tire and slide it off. Now we're going to take these two bolts out, use a 16mm socket. Now I'm going to take this bolt out, use a 18mm socket. If you have a vehicle with a manual transmission, it may be different. For the automatic, this bolt is not going to come out because it's going to hit the pan. So what we need to do is drop this little cradle just down enough so we can access that bolt. For the passenger side, you might be able to get that bolt out. It's going to be kind of close. So now we'll drop this down. Take these two bolts out, use a 16mm socket. That can just stay like that. I'm just going to use a pole jack just to support this underneath here. I'll just go through the control arm and take this bolt out using an 18mm socket on both sides. Now take the same 18mm socket, loosen these up on the rear. I don't want to take these out completely, just loosen those up. Now I'm just going to lower this down, just slowly. Now you can use a wrench on this one and loosen it up. If you can get a socket on there, go for it. And if you just raise up slightly on the transmission, just with a piece of wood, just slightly, not too much. That'll give you just a little bit of clearance. Get that bolt out. And if it's still not working, you can take these two bolts out right here or loosen them up. These go to the steering shaft or the steering rack. And the bolt right here. Use a 16mm on all of these. And slide that out. And you can grab the arm and just twist it down. Slide it out. Now slide the control arm in and just slide the control arm in. Get the bushing lined up. And get the bolt started. All the bolts for this should be replaced when doing this job. It's recommended. For this bolt, you want to torque this bolt to 51 foot-pounds. And it's best to have the control arm the right angle, the correct angle that it would be while the vehicle's on the ground. But sometimes it's hard to torque these bolts while the vehicle's all together on the ground. So do the best you can. Just have it as close to the angle as it should be. Torque this to 51, and then if you have a torque angle meter, you want to go another additional 90 degrees. If you don't, do the best you can. At this point, the bolt's already in here, so that's all set. So we can raise this cradle up. Just make sure everything lines up. You can take this down as well. We don't need that. And put the cradle bolts in. Get those lined up. And get these bolts in. And you can kind of see where the cradle was before you took it out. If you can get it close to where it was, and tighten all these bolts up. That would be ideal. And just see if that's lined up. Pretty close. That looks good. And tighten those all down. If you've loosened up any other bolts, if you loosened those steering rack bolts, make sure you tighten those in or put those back. That's good. These exhaust bolts, put those in. Then you can put these two bolts in. I'm gonna have to move the engine a little bit. And snug those down. You can remove the pull jack and line these bolts up. And these bolts should be replaced as well while doing this job. These smaller bolts, you want to torque those to 36 foot-pounds. And then an additional 90 degrees. Do the best you can. And the bigger bolts, 51 foot-pounds and an additional 90 degrees. Now line up the lower ball joint and put the nuts on. Now torque these nuts to 44 foot-pounds. Now reinstall the wheel. Put the lug bolts in. Now I'm going to torque these lug bolts to 89 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. And just go around again, double check. Take the wheel lock off and reinstall the caps. Just line them up. Make sure you put your tools back in the trunk. After you've done this job, make sure you bring the vehicle to a local garage and have it aligned to make sure you don't have premature tire wear.